pour. So if you've got like 10 litres of it warm, you then pour that through a sieve, through muslin cloth, and you have water in the bowl that it's going into. And what happens is that then fat will rise and set, and the bottom of the fat will be any particles left that are heavier than the fat coming out of it. And when they hit the water, it just seals on the fat. And then when you take that, and then that'll pull out because it's in water, pull out, turn over, and you just got to scrape off the top 2 millimeters, and it's clean. Do that again, same in a new water bath, and before you know it, it's pure. But if you get it right, it's no different than anything else. Like you look at our mice, and people say, "How is it so popular? How is it so successful?" It's like because we put the effort in to make it all perfect. We could do it. I could do it for half the dollars because the big dollars is wages, the packet. I could do it for half that and just shove it in and throw it in the freezer. It looked like something. Yeah, and it just looked like somebody's vomited it, and women wouldn't go and buy it and put it in their freezers. They would say, "Ugh." Like bait. Right? But if you're doing it yourself, exactly right. And if you're happy for it to be like partial income, and you're doing it partly for the fun of it, so if you're saying, well, if it's returning me $25 an hour, and I can stay at home, that's fine. But like your own business owner, we've got to be running it higher than that. Otherwise, it's not worth the stress. Exactly right. Is that what happened? So it froze, did it?
So they weren't there last Friday when I filled it. Right. And then why not?
Helpful.
So I think that's right. So I parked it straight off, so I couldn't have. Sounds like the parents weren't there either. And so when I came straight, so they're 20 minutes the other side of the house. Drove out there Friday morning, pulled up beside it, went to grab the toilet off it to throw in the truck, and it was sitting on like my side of the roof. Digital one front sitting on my side, opened the door, solid rock.
We're on the live stream. The world just turned out to solid rock. Thank you, Megan. To the world. We're about to do it. Yep. Germany is listening. Canada is listening. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to church and welcome to you online. If you are listening online, I trust you're nice and warm, probably sitting in your PJs about now. Sorry? Ella is in her PJs. Hello, Ella, and I hope your PJs are good. Ella, can you give us a thumbs up, please, on the WhatsApp so we know that you are listening? But we don't want a photo. Well, you talk to her about, anyway, those online are not getting half this conversation. Let's stay away from it. Folks, how about I pray and we'll get started. Our good God and Father, we thank you for your love for us, and we thank you for this day. We thank you for all that you do for us. We thank you for history, and we do pray tonight that you'd help us to think and to pay attention and to once more grasp how your fingerprint and your hand was upon certain people through history, and that was an amazing thing to revive and reform your church, to bring people closer to you. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Guys, can you shut that door for us as you come through? That'd be awesome, because it's echoing back out. Hey, guess what? Ella's not watching. So we've just sprung her. She's cheating. Well, she hasn't given us the thumbs up. So, all right. So for those of you online, if you have a question as we go through, feel free to text this through to me as per normal. If you're new joining us tonight, there was whispers of some new people joining the live stream to watch and take things in. So if that has occurred, welcome to you guys. I'll no doubt know about it when you send me some questions or whatever. Okay, so this is our very, very busy timeline that you guys should be starting to get a little bit more familiar with and not so scared about. And we are here, remember, we're past Charlemagne and we're heading towards the Crusades. And so tonight we're going to deal with this chunk of history. Yeah, don't do it, Pete, you'll hurt your neck. It's okay. You can always take a photo and turn it later or something if you like. Okay, so we're going to deal with this part of history today. So if you remember, we had Otto. Remember the Ottos last time? Do people remember this? Shelley wasn't here, and Shelley hasn't done her homework. She hasn't watched it. She just revealed her naughtiness. So we had the Ottos. Remember, we had the death of Otto II and then the reign of Otto III. Thank you, Pete. In 983. And it was... Yeah, right. So, and it is at this point that those to the east of the Elbe, remember, so that new frontier that has sort of become Christian, but it's the great Slavic revolt, and they go, we'll be our own, and they become Christian all by themselves. So this Christianization of the east of the Elbe. And so no longer does Germany have a frontier. Okay, there's no more barbarians past. They're now Christians and new countries. And so this area is referred to as the Ostelbian. Pete, Oste, the Easties. Okay, the Ostelbians, so the east of the Elbe. Yeah, is what that word means. Okay. So remember, if we look at this picture, now this is sort of where Europe is now looking at 983. I'm not dealing with the UK at the moment, okay? We'll come back and sort of poke around with it when we get to Tyndale, but for now we'll just leave it alone because it's its own dog's breakfast of stuff going on. But we have this Christianization of to the east, and so Germany is now the Germani have been separated into the Franconians to the west Franconians, and the East Franconians, the Germans and the Franks. And remember, this was in operation now, full swing. Remember, we have that the kingdom of Germany, the kingdom of Germany, is giving earthly power and wealth to the Roman Church, to the Pope, and the Pope in return is giving blessing and legitimacy. And in between these, you have these different levels of government in the county, in the province, the bishops, the counts, the abbots, those sort of things. And the rise of these guys down the bottom right-hand corner, the magnates, the landholders, right? The big, powerful families. And so we left last time with this scenario now in play, where the Pope has a say, the nobles, the magnates have a say, and the king they've all got a vested interest in who will be emperor. And so there's this seesaw power struggle now in play for obviously the red dot, which is the emperor, right? The imperial crown. So both of these things are in action at once. So it's not a good idea. Okay. And so that brings us to the 1000s. To 1000 and 1033. Now this is a critical point in history. Why? For the common person, for the normal person, for the person who just goes and, plants potatoes. Why is 1000 to 1033 critical? Who wants to guess? And I'm even going to open this up for those online. Send me a text message if you want to guess it. We'll give everybody, 30 seconds, 50 seconds. Have a think about it. Actually talk to each other. Why would 1000 to 1033 be important to people? It's because they're used to writing 999. Yeah. So why is 1000 to 1033 important? Have a discussion with each other. I'll give you a minute. Those online, I'll give you a minute, and I'd expect to see some messages. Don't you dare cheat. Something about Islam is one suggestion. I'm waiting for what we really want. We want an Annabelle Peffer. Who have we got? Oh, Rebecca has guessed the Magna Carta. Yeah. 1066, a bit late. 1066, right? Battle of Hastings, it's a bit late. And that's very much, for the UK. Anyone else got a guess? Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Thank you, Sarah. The common people. To everybody. Actually, to everyone. To the magnates, to the Pope, to the king, to the peasants, to the abbots, to the county officials, all of them. To their survival, no, not to their survival, they're all interested in this. It's all an important time. Why is it an important time? Come on, Annabelle, where are you, Annabelle? We're waiting for Annabelle to send us a message. Oh, I can't wait anymore, Annabelle. Disease or famine? No. No, not the Crusades. We're going to be crusading very shortly, but no. Okay, here we go. Oh no. There's an expectation. There's eschatological expectation. It's 1,000 years since the birth of Jesus. It's 1,000 years from the... Well, I didn't hear you, Shelley. You didn't put your hand up. It's 1,000 years since the death of Jesus. And what are human beings? We love the round numbers, don't we, right? Like, it's the change of the millennium. It's going to happen. It's happening tomorrow. Not. It didn't happen. Oh, whoopee-doo, says Don. Yeah, okay. So there begins... And so lots of people want to go to Jerusalem. Why? Because you want to be in Jerusalem when Jesus returns, but it's become dangerous to pilgrimage to Jerusalem because Jerusalem is no longer Christian. It's now Islam. Okay, it's become dangerous to go. The last Carolingian emperor to lead the faithful to Jerusalem to await the return of Christ. This is the expectation of the people on Otto III. Take us to Jerusalem. Be our king to welcome the king as he returns. And Otto dies instead. Didn't quite work, right? There he is, Otto III. He dies in 1002, so he's not taking you for the 1,000 years after Jesus rose from the dead. Now, I told you that I wouldn't do any more family trees, but I decided to do one more. Okay? So Otto III, remember, he came from Otto II. And Otto II came from Otto I. And Otto I came from Henry the Fowler. Remember him? Also known as Henry I. And remember, they called him the Fowler because he liked chickens. Okay, now, Otto III... he's died, but he's left a son, Henry II. Sorry? Here we go, you ready? And Henry II, and the crown will move from Henry II to Conrad II as Henry dies. But Otto I has had a daughter, Lutgard, and she is going to get with a guy called Otto the First, but not her father Otto the First, another guy called Otto the First, and they give birth to Conrad the Second, and that's how Conrad comes into it, because he's not the son of Henry the Second, he's like a cousin. Okay, let's go back. Let's try it again. Okay, Otto the Third. Before Otto the Third is Otto the Second. And before Otto the Second is Otto the First. And Otto the First is the son of Henry the First. Henry the Fowler. Are you right with that? Okay. Now, Otto the Third, the crown when he dies, it goes to Henry the Second. Yes. Okay. Now, Henry the Second, when he dies, it goes to Conrad the Second, who's not his son. But he's still part of he's still in the, sort of in the dynasty, right? He's the next in line. The rightful one, right? He comes around because Otto the First has had a daughter, Lutgard, and Lutgard has hooked up with a guy called Otto the First, but he's not Otto the First, her dad. He's another Otto the First, and they've had the child called Conrad the Second. Are we good now? All right, you ready to get really confused? Okay, now Otto the First is also known as Otto von Worms. This is important. Because we're going to Worms, yes, okay. Otto the Worm, okay, Otto von Worms. The important thing here is the word von. This is where von starts to enter the language, okay? And we're going to come back to it tonight. This becomes important. And why is it important? For one reason only. Only one reason. Because high on a hill with a lonely goater, ole, ole, hoo-hoo, is the von Trapp family. Okay, Von becomes an important part of just culture. And we'll show you why in a minute. Sorry? Okay, now Conrad the Second. Warwick, we probably need to just delete my head for a moment. Sorry, if we can. For those online. Conrad the Second, he has a son. So I haven't even bothered with dates because it's just too confusing now, right? He has a son called Henry the Third. But Henry II is actually, so Otto III to Henry II, it's not his son, it's like his nephew, all right? But Henry II's dad is actually Henry II in green. So there's two Henry II's, and they don't give birth to Henry III, they're different Henry II's. But Henry II is from Henry I, and Henry I is not Henry I the Fowler, he's another Henry I, and he comes from Henry I. So in other words, Henry I had a son called Henry I, as well as having one called Otto I, Otto II, Otto III. Otto I has a daughter who marries Otto I, who's not Otto I. Henry I, the Fowler, has a son called Henry I, has a son called Henry II, who has a son called Henry II. Henry II gets the crown of Otto III. Henry II gives it to Conrad II. Conrad II is the son of Otto I, but not Otto I. They have a son called Henry III, and the world hates this because no one knows what the heck is going on. They open schools to go 1, 2, 3, right? How complicated is that? Did you like that? I had fun putting that together because I was so confused. And that's right. No. This is nothing to do with Henry VIII. No, these are European Henrys, which are different to the UK Henrys. Okay? There is a Henry V who does do both. But anyway. All right. And so while this is happening, this is also happening. Can you imagine trying to work out who's actually in charge? Imagine the kerfuffle, right? This is a nightmare for society. This is not going to work long term. So 1028, Henry III. He's here's what he looks like. Now, have a look what he... Sorry? It's Micah. Micah, stand up, take a bow. Okay. Now, what do you notice? What's he holding? The orb and the scepter. Okay, he's in the manner of Charlemagne. He's still trying to conjure Charlemagne in his kingship. Still trying to hold this Carolingian power, this all-important emperor. Now, Henry III, he's got, the swing of power has moved away from the Pope. He's got a lot of clout. He actually installs 4 consecutive popes until he finds one that he likes. Okay, so he moves popes around. It's pretty amazing. Right? So we have 4 popes that he deals with. And then in 1056, he dies. Now, when the king dies, the emperor dies, this is going to be a problem because then there's a power vacuum and everybody does a reshuffle and everything gets mixed up again, right? So, and Henry III dies and he commits the mortal sin of his son not being an adult, Henry IV. So while Henry IV is a child, we're going to have a shuffle again. What's wrong, Sarah? Yeah, but he was young when he came to the throne too. So, yeah. So this is no, doesn't he look fantastic? What's he holding? The orb and the scepter. Okay, we'll still conjure Charlemagne. It swapped hands, right? Yeah, I don't think it makes much difference. Okay, but he is a child, and this is still rocking and rolling, right? Okay, so he has to, for him to be emperor, he has to get the tick of the Pope and the tick of the nobles, and this is, they're not happy with this, right? Because he's a kid. And so the nobles are going to do something about this. So remember, this is what we've got, but this is what it suddenly becomes. Okay, the magnates see their opportunity to grab power. Do we really need the Pope? Henry III showed us that the Pope's not indisposable. So we can just cut him out. We can just do things on our own. So this is what they try to do. Okay, they try and grab power. And so, let me go back there. Okay, so they're going to dictate what's going on to the Pope, right? So the Pope is diminishing his authority is not going out. Authority is being given to, responsibility is being given to him by a greater authority now, the magnates, the nobles. And so what he's going to try and do is the Roman Church now is going to try and do this thing and grab power back through the abbots and the bishops. Meanwhile, the nobles are saying, no, we should appoint the bishops and the abbots and that provincial and county authority. And so now there's this tussle for the local administration. Does that make sense? And so avoiding the king now, the Roman Church has to give power back to the magnates directly. And then the magnates are going to tell the church what it can and can't do. You see how we've shifted our system. It's shifted from the king of Germany, because he's just a puppet of the magnates. And so we have this power shift has occurred in society. And so these bishops and abbots and counts, they now want to have in on the power of the king. So they're going to start to try and talk to the king directly and impact that. And then the king is going to have a bishop, and it's going to shift around now. This whole system that has been sort of held together with sticky tape is now crumbling, and we're trying to put it back together as we go, and it's a dog's breakfast. And right at this point, the Slavs decide that they're going to revolt again. We're going to go on another rampage. And so the Slavs rebel again. Okay, so basically Poland and up to Lithuania is starting, but it's not called Lithuania yet, but the Poles are starting to go a bit, they're seeing, we can grab some land, we can push back, we can grab, we can do these things. And then Henry IV, he comes to actual power. And this is where it gets so crazy. So he's a king, and then the Pope will install an anti-king, an opposing king to the king, right? Because this system is not working anymore. So the Pope goes, no, I want my own king. So he appoints his own king, who is not the king that is appointed by the magnates. So you have kings and anti-kings. So what would you do as the magnates in response to the Pope? Well, you're going to have popes and anti-popes. So you have the pope, and then the magnates appoint an anti-pope via the king. Oh my goodness me. So popes and anti-popes, kings and anti-kings. And literally they're called the anti-pope, whatever, the third. And yeah, so you can start to look these up and you'll go, what is an anti-pope? This is what it means, okay? It's like, we don't accept your pope, we're putting in our own pope. I don't know where they stayed. It'd be a bit nuts. And, sorry? The anti-Vatican, yes. And so now you have the Pope who'll excommunicate a king, and then the king will go and have a chat to him and be recommunicated, and then he says something else and the Pope will excommunicate him again, and it's just like, what piece of power do I have? Let me flex it. And then the king will withhold money going to the Pope and then give it back to him. And so one of the things Henry actually does, Henry IV, is he does this great big walk barefoot in the middle of winter as like penance, and stops at the door of the Pope and waits there for like a month or something or other until the Pope says, yes, I forgive you. And then we're all friends again for 2 months. And then we'll have another fight and we'll argue with each other again about something. Oh, yeah, okay. I'll get to that, Megan. Megan said we should make a song about the family tree. Auto 1, Auto 2, Auto 3. Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. Okay. So remember, this is what it was, and now this becomes important, right? Because now this is where the people are impacted, okay? It's not working just straight from the Pope anymore. No one's really listening, sort of thing. It's got to come through the bishops and the abbots. It's got to come down to the normal people level to control the people. So this is the new battleground. This is the new jostle for power, is localized influence in each town and village and countryside. And so we have this emperor-pope conflict going on. Yep, does that make sense? And we need a resolution for it. So this is the resolution according to Steve. Okay, this is history according to Steve now. What is the solution to I hate you and you hate me? A duel, says Sarah. Yes, we'll go shoot each other. No, not a duel. I hate you, you hate me. How do we become friends again? A common enemy. Exactly right. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Who is the enemy of the church? Islam. What does the church desire? Jerusalem. Get it back. It's the holy city. Right? It's one of the three, remember? Right? One of the great theological, Who's the enemy of the emperor? Islam. They've been pushing against the Byzantine Empire. What does the emperor desire? Land, territory, wealth. Jerusalem. Plus the land. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So, let's go have a war. So, let's go crusading. And this is the next big thing that occurs, is the Crusades start. Now, 590, and we need to go back for a moment. Okay, we're going to go back 500 years for this. 590 is the first pope, Gregory I. The first one called pope. They're called pontiff. Before that, remember, that came out of the Greek. But the first pope is Pope Gregory I in 590 AD. 593, he flexes muscle and he starts to talk about purgatory. It's never been spoken of before. Okay, but purgatory starts to be talked about in 593. Why? If you think about it, it's pure power. Because here's how it looks like. You sin. Every person sins. If you're unforgiven of your sin, you go to hell. If you seek forgiveness, you will go to purgatory, is what they teach. And in purgatory, you'll have to deal with the punishment for your sin. I know you've got to do 100 push-ups, whatever, before you can go to heaven. The waiting room to go to heaven, okay? Purgatory. In 756, in that donation of Pepin, right, there was the donation of Pepin, right, where we created this situation where the church gave to the king and the king gave to the church, the donation of Pepin. And then we get to 1000 and we have an instability in everything going on. In 1095, the issue becomes plenary indulgences. Okay, and what that means is this. There is complete and total remission of punishment for sin granted by the Pope. You get out of purgatory. So 500 years earlier, I sow the seed, tell you that you're going to a waiting room when you die. And now 500 years later, I tell you, you can avoid that. Okay, you can avoid it. How are you going to avoid it? How will you avoid going to purgatory? You have to have total remission, total payment, total sorting out of all of your sin. And there's only one way for you to do it. It is given by the Pope. It is handwritten by him or signed by him. And what it is, okay, is you're going to jump the queue with a plenary indulgence. A thing called an indulgence, but a plenary, a total indulgence. And this indulgence, you must wear this. You have to go to war. The Crusades. If you wear the cross and you go to war, you go to heaven. You wear the cross, you go to war, you go to heaven. On the other side of the battlefield, what have you got for Islam? If you jihad against those against Islam, you go to heaven. And you die in that, you go to heaven. Okay, it's like basically the same claim, right? Like it's like, how do you get people to run headlong to smash each other? You promise them that you get heaven. They wear this. And so the Crusader cross comes into existence. Now it looks like this, but it looks like this as well. Also known as the Jerusalem cross, because that was the destination to get to Jerusalem. Okay, the four little thingy-majigs are the four gospels, and the edges of the four winds of the earth or something. Oh, some silly thing trying to sell it to people. So it also looks like this. Yeah? You recognize this shape? So this is sold to the people of Germany as a really important thing. 1095. Fast forward hundreds and hundreds of years, and this will re-emerge looking like this. The Iron Cross. They knew exactly what they were doing. You know what this is, right? Yeah? Everyone knows? Radio. So, we're going crusading. So, because the Pope has influence in the UK, or Britain, England, and he has through the bishops and the abbots, out goes the call to arms, raise armies. Those, not the magnates, but the guys under the magnates, raise armies. Okay, local armies, and they go leading their armies. And this is where it becomes a serious dog's breakfast, okay? So you have one guy, the hermit, and he leads his army, and he sets off earlier than the other guys. So he gets to Constantinople before everybody else. So they think, well, while we're going, why don't we just do some rape and pillage on the way? So they're actually attacking other Christian villages and taking their treasure as they go. And then they get to Constantinople, and then Constantinople's like, whoa, shut the gate. We don't know who these guys are. And then we've got to wait for the next guys to get here, and, and you're late, and it's all a mess. Okay, they're supposed to rally at Constantinople before they then move through Asia Minor, or Turkey, and come down to Jerusalem. And what they actually get to is a frontier, okay? They actually battle and they win, okay? They push Islam out and they create a new frontier, okay? The frontier is not up in the north anymore. The frontier is back here in the Near East, which we call today the Middle East, but it's the Near East. Nearest in the east to Constantinople. Now, what do you think is the problem with this? Bear in mind the Byzantium Empire is not really part of this. It's more Western than Eastern Crusaders. They're cut off, right? So to supply the front line is difficult, okay? All of the brown is Islamic caliphates, okay, that they're battling against. It's not just one, it's like 4 different fronts at once. And one of those, the guys in the north of Turkey, that little one there, okay, this one is the one that will become the Turkish people later. Right? That's these guys here. And they have serious issues with them. And part of the serious issue was the Pope is concerned because they're really, really close to Constantinople and they're close to Antioch, and we've got to stop these guys. So we have this new frontier and we've got to try and keep it serviced. And to keep it serviced, well, that's going to mean ships at sea and try and send things by land. Things won't get there in time, and you've got all these guys with their armies and they can't agree on when they're going to go to battle, what the formation will look like, who's in charge. Because, the guy who actually is in charge is the guy who wins, and the guy who wins gets all the accolades when we get back home. So who's going to get the wealth? Oh my goodness me. And it's like, well, I'm not coming to help you because you didn't come to help me, and all this sort of, ridiculousness, okay? They go as far south as the big yellow dot. The big yellow dot is the Sinai Peninsula, and they retake St. Catherine's. Okay? They retake St. Catherine's. They retake what Helena, Constantine's mum, when she said, "Where's Mount Sinai?" There. Okay? That's all been in Islamic. The Islam has been around it. They now retake it. Okay? How do I know this? How do I know that the Crusaders got that far? I know them because of this. This is the top of Sinai. This is up the top. We've been there, Don, right? And up the top of Sinai, oh, there we go. Look at that. Okay, those of us coming on the tour, we're going to meet this lady, Julie. She is in Amsterdam waiting for us. And that's my new daughter. Okay. Oh, and that's my lovely wife. But look what's up the top. What's that? It's a Crusader cross. It's been there for 1,000 years. Approximately 950 years or whatever. Okay, they got that far. Now, right through that frontier, right through this blue line, this frontier, castles are built. Fortresses, okay, eastward facing, so to speak, like guarding against the eastward movement of Islam coming back. And so when you drive on the King's Highway, that ancient road that Moses journeyed on and Jesus journeyed on, there's actually fortresses on the way, okay? So there's a big castle called Kerak, which is between Amman and Petra. There's Kerak further north. There's another one. Further south, there's another one. They're all over the joint. These Crusader fortresses are everywhere, okay? There's the Nicaea fortress, and yeah, they're all over the joint. So here's what they establish in that first crusade. They established this thing called the Kingdom of Jerusalem. And they're actually going to leave one of the guys there as in charge, and he's like the king in Jerusalem now. Quite an interesting statement to make. What were the people waiting for? The king to return to Jerusalem, 1033, and now we'll play on that, and I'll call myself the king of Jerusalem, and I'm in charge here. And he's going to hold ground against Islam. And you see how close the emirate of Damascus is. Like Islam is all around them. The Egyptian caliphate is right there. The Fatimid caliphate is just right there. She's pretty tight. And there is Caesarea, and this is where one of these fortresses is built. Okay, so here's a picture of it. Here's the Crusader walls today. They're still there today. Crusader walls are all on an angle, generally speaking. They built them on an angle to, you can climb it, but it's really hard to climb, but for whatever reason they built them on an angle. And to a degree, got a moat, very English. Let's build moats in a place that gets 200 mils of rain a year. It's a pretty funny thing to do. But yeah, you can see those today if we ever get to the Holy Land. Okay, so that's all happening with the Crusades. And then there's another one, and there's another one. There's 3 Crusades to the Middle East, because ebb, flow. Okay, but just as they kill just as many of their own, fighting each other over arguments about stuff and raping and pillaging their own towns, as they do actually fighting the caliphates. It's just a complete mess, absolute mess. Now, this is the scene, okay, when this is happening, the story of Robin Hood is happening. Okay, Richard the Lionheart is on the Crusades. Does that make sense? And so when you see him, in the story of Robin Hood, he has the Crusader's cross on his chest. Yeah, the red and white. Yeah. Sean Connery, exactly. Yep, and Kevin Costner and Annie McDowell, wasn't it? Was it Annie McDowell? And Morgan Freeman, the Moor. Okay. So while that is happening, while everybody's looking, hang on, which way? This way. Everybody's looking east. Everyone's looking down south. Everyone's focused on the Middle East. Meanwhile, in the north, back in the north, what do you think is going to happen when you take your eyes off the ball at home? You do whatever you like. Exactly right. So meanwhile, 950 to 1300 AD is the medieval warm period. Okay, the earth warmed up 4 degrees. 4 degrees. They had climate change too. Long before the Industrial Revolution, the earth warmed up. What happens when the earth warms up? Sea level didn't rise. We all die, yes. It's an existential crisis. No. During this period, the climate warms, okay? The Alps become easier to go across. It becomes easier to move troops and stuff across because it's warmer. Your fighting in season increases, but there's another thing that happens. Sorry? James? It rains more? Not quite. But you're close. Oh no, it's broken. Those Slavic lands of the Ostelbians, okay, east of the Elbe, they rebel from Christianity back to paganism. Okay, they rebel. And the land magnates, the enemy, they say this is our enemy. They're now the enemy of the nobles, they're the enemy of the king, they're the enemy of the Pope. And part of the reason for you're my enemy is because those frozen lands are now growing wheat. The climate has changed and they're growing crop. So where you could only grow potatoes and cabbage, so to speak, you can now grow full-on cereal. This land has become really, really valuable. And who wants it? Well, the power people want it, right? And so they're called a name. They give them a name, the Wends. The Wends. Okay, the Wends. We hate them. So what would be a good idea to do? Well, we're in the spirit of it. Let's go to war. Yep. Okay, so the lands, the marshes, the forests, the rivers, yeah, they're now perfect for growing food. The nobles want it. So we'll have another one called the Wendish Crusade. So we're going to have crusades to the north. There's actually 3, 4 of these that actually occur, but this is the most important one for us at the moment, is the Wendish Crusade. So now we have a new frontier right on the edge of Germany against our next door neighbours. Over the Elbe, on this side of the Elbe, east and west. And here is what they are told by the Pope: to wipe out the pagan rites or the pagan religion, or if you can't do that, wipe the people out. Talk about genocide, this is a genocide. Wipe them out, just like in Star Wars. Okay, wipe out the people. And this is 1147, right? So we're right in the middle of the Crusades are humming over in the Middle East. We're going to do it here as well. So 1148 to 1197, what happens is that we actually have this attack against the Wends or the Wends. But what actually occurs is that the German guys who go, they work out pretty quickly that, like, we can't sort these guys out. So what we'll do is we'll have a chat to them and just say, look, guys, instead of us killing you, how about we just become friends? All we need you to do, can you just roll out a bed sheet with a red cross on it? And then you've said, oh no, we've converted to Christianity. So it becomes like this nominal thing. Just tell us you're Christians and we can just leave you alone. But we're going to take your land. And so you have these settlers into Ostelbian. These guys have been approved by the king, the nobles, the emperor, the nobles, and the pope to go. And so we just get to grab land. And instead of having to deal with the conscious notion of killing somebody, just tell us you're a Christian and we're fine. And we'll just turn our blind eye to all the things you're doing and all your weird stuff. So we get these settlers in the Ostelbian. 1197, we have the death of Henry VI. So we've jumped a couple of Henrys by this point. And this is where the magnates go, right, this is our chance, okay? This is our chance. The king, this vacuum, the power vacuum, let's grab power once more. So that's exactly what they do. They go for power. And this is where the phrase, the prince electors, come in. So all these power magnates, all these big families, they get together and they work out for this to work, 7. There's going to be 7 of us. And that's it. And we determine who the king is. And we tell the Pope what's going on, okay? And we'll have the tussle with the Pope. The prince electors. If you want to talk about power, these guys are now the power. So the prince electors, here's what they decide. 3 churchmen, because you've got to make it about heaven still, right? Like you've still got to be religious about this. So 3 churchmen and 4 worldmen. I've called them worldmen because I didn't know how else to put it, but the worldly electors and the heavenly electors, so to speak. So 7 of them is what's going to happen. And you can see what happens with 7. When it goes to a vote, you'll never have a stale vote. You'll always have someone will win on something. So the first one is the Archbishop of Mainz. The second one is the Archbishop of Trier. And the third one is the Archbishop of Cologne, or Cologne. Also referred to as the Arch-Chancellor of Mainz, the Arch-Chancellor of Trier, and the Arch-Chancellor of Cologne. Same person, okay? There's the same 3 titles. Meanwhile, the worldmen, you're going to have the King of Bohemia, basically Czech. Okay, the lands around there, those lands that Christianized, but they didn't revolt with the Slavs to the north. They want in on this, and they're into Germany. The Bohemians, yes, it is where Bohemian Rhapsody comes from, right? So the King of Bohemia is one of the electors, and often he's considered the most powerful of the electors, probably because he has the biggest army. The second one is the Count of the Palatinate of the Rhine. That's a big word. The Palatinate, a region that encompasses the Rhine. The third one is the Duke of Saxony. Remember, the Saxons had been the ones that wouldn't come in under Charlemagne, and then by the end of Charlemagne's reign, that's all been sorted. Okay, the Duke of Saxony will keep those Saxons under power, and the Margrave of Brandenburg. Am I off screen or on screen, Warwick? Sorry, mate. We'll just drop me out just for a second, and then we'll put it back up, I think, just so people can see that. Now, these guys have new names as well. The Arch Cupbearer, the Arch Steward, the Arch Marshal, and the Arch Chamberlain. Does anyone know what those ones mean? The Arch Cupbearer, what does it bring to mind? Joseph, okay, yep, but what? Drink, alcohol, it's important. It's important in our world of, power that we have wine. So you're the arch wine man and grog. The arch steward. Yep, you're the one in charge of food and supplies. The arch marshal. Yep, horses and yep. And the chamberlain. Toilets. Yes, so the arch chamberlain of the palaces. Okay, it's this imagery of we are looking after, like the kingdom is like a castle, and we have food and drink sorted out, and the building and the army. Okay, it's just a figurative thing for it. But you can imagine being called the arch cupbearer. Like, what a strange thing, but this is what they did. Now, what I want you to notice is these 3, Mainz, Trier, and Cologne, are all on the limes. Remember the original limes from 1,000 years earlier? These are all cities on the limes, far west. And these guys are all Ostelbian. They're all, like the Rhine runs right across, but these are all far to the east. Guess what we're drawing up? Well, we're drawing up a splitting of power inside Germany between west and east. And 900 years later, 800 years later, this is going to come into play after World War II. This notion of that is them and this is us. So remember, wipe them out in 1147, and they give a new name to these Wends. They're called the Pruski. The Pruski. What does it sound like? Prussia, yes. Okay. So the Pruski just means anyone who's not a Christian east of the Elbe. If you're an Ostelbian and you're not a Christian, you're a Pruski. And then, so who's not German and who's in the east. And at 1226, we get this guy called Emperor Frederick II come on the scene. And he signs the Golden Bull. Okay, so this is so you imagine like there's this new group of people we're talking about. Okay, they're like the new barbarians. They're not German. Remember the Germani were not Roman. Now, if you're not German, you're the new barbarian. You're the Pruski. He signs the Golden Bull. Okay, what is a Golden Bull? It's just a scroll, basically, that's been sealed with gold, the Golden Bull. And a bull is a notification, information being sent out. It is where we get the word bulletin. Okay, a bulletin comes from this. This is the Golden Bull. And what he does is he's had enough of these guys just allowing them to drape the red cross on your thing and you'll be okay. And so he gives an order, the Golden Bull, and gives authority to this new group of people called the Teutonic Order, the Teutonic Knights. And they are authorized to go in and conquer this land. The Teutonic Knights. And what do they wear? Okay, this is happening in Jerusalem. Okay, they're still wearing this in Jerusalem, and they're called the Knights Templar. The Knights of the Temple in Jerusalem is where they take their name from, the Crusaders, right? The Knights Templar, which you've probably heard about, this secret society and all this stuff. Well, the Teutonic Knights, this is their shield. Let me do that again for you. Wow, it didn't change much, did it? Except it's black, and this is the Teutonic Knights. And this is where the black iron cross comes from later, right? Like this is the stepping stone to that. And so in 1260, so they go in and they just smash. These guys are full on. These are a source, a power to be reckoned with. They come in and they smash and they burn and they sort things out. By 1266, it takes them 40 years, but they establish the state of the Teutonic Knights. So this is not a race of people. This is not a people group. These are just guys with their job is to secure this land, and then they declare themselves their own state. Did you get that? They're not a country. They're just like, we're a state. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's all still there, right? They're still carrying the cross. If they die in this, they get to go to heaven. Absolutely, yep. So they're still under this same religious pretext. Yep. So here we are, up here, the Pruski in the black, the state of the Teutonic Knights. And it probably comes down into the yellow a bit more where Poland is, but this is where they are. This is modern day Lithuania and Latvia is where we are. Sorry, did I have a date on that? Yeah, 1266, okay? So we have the state of the Teutonic Knights, and their buddies, their mates, are this group called the Hansa. And the Hansa are from the north of Germany, and these guys are merchants. This is like a merchants guild. This is their own club. Their own guys look after each other. And they become known as the Hanseatic League. This is where the name Hansi Cronje comes from the Hansa. Hansi Cronje, who was the captain of the South African cricket team 20 years ago, right? But it's a name now, right? Like It comes from this notion, okay? Now, the Hanseatic League, these guys don't pick up any arms. These guys are powerhouses of economy. Their brothers, their mates, are the army, and these guys are the corporation. So we now have a corporation that is armed. Basically, that's what we've got going on. So dominating trade and an army to back them. No one's going after these guys. So powerful are these two, they declare war on the Scandinavian countries themselves. Because, like you ripped us off on wheat deal or something or other. And so this becomes known as Prussia. And it is the Teutonic Knights and the Hanseatic League in league with each other. And the Hanseatics actually come right across that top of Poland as well. Okay, there's a town called Lübeck. Sarah, do you remember Lübeck? When we went to Lübeck, they had that amazing gate. And so the symbol for Lübeck actually becomes like a royal stamp type notion. Like Royal Dalton, like if you carry the Lübeck stamp, it's like your product is like has less taxes on it and all sorts of things because of the Hanseatic League. So Prussia now is this place, and they are Ostelbian, they are east of the Elbe, they're in the east, and they become referred to as the Easterlings, because they're in the east, yeah? Okay, and what did I tell you about them? They're like the armed corporation. They are dictating trade all the way to England. So powerful are they that they actually get tax breaks from the King of England as well. The emperor and the magnates will, adjust their trade and what's going on and taxes and stuff to satisfy these guys. And the Pope is quite concerned by them because I can't sort of stop them anymore. They're too powerful. How powerful? They are trading in furs, amber, tar, herring, Swedish ore, and Russian timber. What does this sound like? Do you remember 1,000 years earlier that they're trading with the same stuff? They've got the stuff that people want. They want the luxury furs, to keep themselves warm, and they want amber because it's pretty, and they want tar because they're trying to build stuff, and right? Now, in doing this trade, if you trade with the Hanseatic League or with Prussia, so good are they at what they do that it's a guaranteed trade. If they make a deal with you to buy some timber or sell you some timber for $1,000, it's $1,000 and you'll get $1,000 worth of timber. And it will never be wrong. If you shortchange them, they'll just send the Teutonic Knights to smash you up. So everything is legit and solid and proper, yeah? What happens with this, it becomes known as pound for pound, yeah? And it actually becomes the pound sterling, the currency of trade, a pound sterling. And it is where the phrase sterling silver comes from. They determine how pure the silver is, they put their name to it, it is now sterling silver, as opposed to half melted down and add some tin to it and everything else. These guys are dictating currency now. If you're a magnate, what are you thinking here? This is a slight problem. We don't really like this, but we can't do anything about it. Sterling silver, sorry. So these guys have completely conquered the Ostelbian lands. They own it. Prussia is now theirs. They're settled in the Prusky lands. But their land is near worthless. Because by 1300, it's the end of the Middle Eastern warm period. Right? They've got this land. It's growing all this wheat. They've got primary production. They're getting very, very wealthy out of it. And then the warm period ends. And the little ice age starts. And their land freezes. And because it freezes, they can't grow any food anymore. No bank will lend money against their land. They can't sell their land. No one wants it because it's just frozen. And so suddenly their wealth diminishes really, really fast. They've got to completely rely on the trade of those other things, pulling out of Russia and all sorts of stuff. They basically become warlords in a foreign land. Okay, they're not in Germany, they're past it, right? So all of their family is back in Germany. They're all over here, but they can't get out They were wealthy, and almost overnight they become not wealthy. But they still are protectors of the local people. They still have a sense of knightship. I'm here to protect them and, make sure there's law and order and all that sort of stuff, right? The Hanseatics have gone, nearly bankrupt. The Teutonics are like, we're still going to defend the castle, so to speak. And so they are not a class of people anymore. They're a caste of people. No one wants these people, okay? And you can't get out of this caste because you can't sell anything to get out. If you leave with nothing, and you're going to be destitute in another land. Does that make sense? They become known as the junkers. They're junk. The junkers. And a junker will have a name associated with him from now on. He's called Von. Captain Von Trapp. They are expert military men, but they don't hold any land. Now, over a period of time, that will change, right? And they'll be granted land for their military exploits. And so Captain Von Trapp is in Austria, way to the southwest, and he does have land, but his great-great-great-grandfather had no land, but he just had this title given to him, the protector of the people in a foreign land in the Ostelbian district, but he's fighting for a noble cause, not for nobility. Does that make sense? Now, why is this important, the junkers? Because a couple of hundred years after this, our monk that we're going to get to very, very shortly, he's going to hide in a castle as a junker. And no one pays any attention to him. He's called Jonker George. Jonker George. Okay, this is where it comes from. So, high on a hill with a lonely goater, right? The Von Trapp family comes out of this, the name comes out of this scenario. And so, 1241, Prussia has lost its prestige at the moment, or the junkers, have now come to pass. The Teutonics have sort of walked away a bit. And so what's going to happen is this system is going to go into full system again. Okay, the electors are taking back the power again. Let's go again. Let's get this power back. The German throne has become a laughing stock to the world, if the world was laughing about them, because the power shifted from the king, and he's got, the emperor doesn't have any power anymore. Like, the Pope is doing anti-kings and, all this sort of stuff's going on, and your military is like away and then has been defeated and has come back and nothing really achieved, and the other ones have now become their own state and all sorts of crazy stuff. And so the electors make a decision. We've got to take the power back. We've got to get away from the dynasty. That is, we'll blame the dynasty. Henry and Otto and all of those guys and Conrad, will blame them. We've got to get away from them. And so they choose an elderly gentleman. He's 55 years of age, and he's never been in a battle. He's been living in Germany, to the east a little bit. But they elect this guy. His name is Rudolph. Now, maybe he drank a bit and he was actually red-nosed. Who knows? But Rudolph is elected in 1273. He is the Count of Habsburg. And so begins a new dynasty, the Habsburg dynasty. These guys, it'll take them a little bit of time to get rolling, but once they get rolling, these guys are the problem for the start of World War I, basically. Okay, they're the cousins of each other, all playing war with each other and throwing stones. Okay, it comes out of this scenario, the Habsburgs. I'm not saying like exactly that, but like these influence world history for the next 700 years. And the electors thought, we're getting a guy that we can control. So what does he do? Well, he casts his own coin and seal and all that sort of stuff, right? Now look, what's he doing? What's he done straight away? The orb and the scepter, right? Back to Charlemagne already. No one's learnt anything. And see, he's face forward again now. So remember the old Caesars were all side profile. And then we went to the Merovingians and those guys after that, and they were like face forward. And then we went back to the side profile, and now we're back to face forward again. But he's holding the orb, he's holding the scepter. Yep. And so this scenario is not working the same anymore. It's now this. Pope's on his own. He's been excluded from the decision-making process. The nobles have appointed the king and the nobles appoint the emperor, who is the king. We'll just do our own thing now. This is 1338 AD. Whoever the prince electors elected as king of Germany is automatically promoted to the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. They control Italy as well. And they control France. They control all of it. And it's 100% at the behest of the prince electors. So now, who holds the power? Totally, for Europe. 7 people. Yep. And they say the prince elector's votes are direct tools of the divine will. Because the Pope's out of the scene now, we are God's will. This is getting dangerous. Because the prince elector's votes are for sale. These are land magnates. These are just wealthy families. Everything's for sale, right? Everything's always for sale. Their wines are for sale. Their horses are for sale. Their wheat is for sale. Their barley is for sale. Their kids are for sale. Everything is for sale. Their vote is for sale. So now, if you'd like to be the king of Germany and the emperor, if you've got enough cash, you can buy it. You can just buy it. And if another guy comes along, these guys can just chuff you, because that's been established, popes and anti-popes and anti-kings and kings and excommunicate and everything else. We'll just hoik you and we'll install a new one because he gave us more money. Oh, this is a dangerous situation now, right? Everything's on tender hooks for power and authority and control. So, 1356, Charles IV purchases the votes to be installed as the king and the emperor. Now I want to pause here for a moment. I want you to think. You're a normal person. Okay, you're a potato farmer and a cabbage farmer, and you've got some horses and pigs, whatever. How would you feel if every time you wake up, sort of thing, you don't know who's going to be in charge, who's controlling things, who's looking after us, who's making sure that we're not getting raided by the Mongols, by Genghis Khan's grandson? He's attacking from the south. There's Black Plague turning up. We like to live in enclosed villages, and then half the population is dying. Who's going to help us out? Who's in charge? Who's sorting things out? And everything is for sale. How would you feel? Disillusioned? And sort of trapped? And wishing that you could change things maybe? Well, this is what's going on. 1356. And this Charles IV, in order to get the election from the prince electors, he must issue a golden bull again. And this one is called the Golden Bull of Nuremberg. So in Nuremberg to the south is where this is done. Now this one has some fine print in it, and it's the fine print that matters. This is what he writes in it. Nothing now conceded or to be conceded in the future by us or our successors, kingship, emperor, the Roman emperors and the kings, shall or may in any way at all derogate from the liberties, jurisdictions, rights, honours or dominions of the ecclesiastical and secular prince electors. In other words, you're just in namesake. All of the power sits with the prince electors. So for him to get the throne, he's exchanged all of its power to the prince electors. So what's the point in having it in the first place? I don't know. It seems strange, but that's what he's done. So the prince electors are now 7 kings, basically. And they're going to start to call themselves really cool names because they can, Remember the king called himself Otto the Great and Charles the Great. They're going to start to call themselves some really cool names as well. And we'll see those names shortly. Power corrupts. And absolute power, absolutely. The people are not going to be happy with this. So meanwhile, while this is happening in Germany, other things have happened. In the 1100s, okay, a couple of hundred years earlier, in the 1100s, the Pope introduced money for masses. If I can promise people that you go to heaven if you go to war, what else can I do to manipulate you? And he says, if you're dying, you can ask the priest to come and do a mass at your bedside. That'll cost you $1,000. But you've done your last rites, you've taken communion, you've been forgiven for all of your sins up to that point in time. You're going to go to purgatory and then go to heaven. But of course, you could do some other things as well. So you can buy your last rites, you can buy heaven. Heaven is for sale. This is a terrible situation. That's in the 1100s. It was already for sale, put the cross on and go. Now it is, you can pay some money and you can go to heaven. In 1215, this phrase enters the church. Remember, the church is all in Latin. Charlemagne made sure of that. The church service is all in Latin. The Bibles are in Latin. Guess what? None of you speak Latin. So you're now going to church and this is what you hear. For an hour. But you went to church, so you got the tick. Purgatory is sort of being held in check. This phrase enters the church mass, the Eucharist mass, the communion. Okay? Hocus corpus meum, which means this is my body. This bread, when I say these words as the priest, I'm not the priest, but I'm the priest. When I hold the bread for everybody and I say, Hocus corpus meum, the bread magically becomes the actual body of Jesus. And now you can partake in the actual body of Jesus. And on your deathbed, you can do that if you pay $1,000. That phrase, this is my body, you're magically changing things. It's exactly where the phrase, I don't have it there. Hocus pocus. Hocus pocus. Boop. It's now the body of Jesus. Now that doctrine still exists today in the Roman Catholic Church. The bread, whatever is not eaten by the congregation, is put in a little cupboard, okay, or the priest has to eat the whole lot. And then if you go into church during the week and you want to take communion, they'll pull that bread out of the little cupboard. It'll be very stale by now, and you'll eat that. But it can't be thrown away because it's the body of Jesus. We can't throw the body of Jesus away. We have to eat it all. Here in the old Baptist church, go and give it to the chooks after church, like they're leftovers or whatever, right? Like we understand it's just a symbolic thing. Whereas here it's like, this is real. And so by 1410, palpable power is completely for sale. He's got no other way to do this. If I can do something and I can get some money, right? It's for sale. The Pope is for sale. The imperial crown is for sale. You can buy it. The prince electors are for sale. You can buy their vote. The church is for sale. Like, if you want to come and see the Holy Lance, we can do that. Oh, by the way, in the Crusades, when the Crusaders got to one of the towns, they found another Holy Lance, making it 4 Holy Lances that, the spear of destiny, the one that stabbed Jesus. There's now 4 of them, but, they were having a fight over that. And then they found more parts of the true cross in, somewhere up in Turkey. Yeah, because there was more of that as well, right? More stuff to, sell to somebody with their red cross on their vest. The church is for sale. Heaven is for sale. Or your time in purgatory is for sale. Therefore, how soon you can get to heaven is for sale. Now, how much for sale? One of the prince electors, it's rumoured, at the time, 100 years after this, one of the prince electors has amassed 1,400 years off his sentence in purgatory by doing things. Okay, so people are going for pilgrimages to Rome. They're going and seeing different holy things to tick boxes for our indulgences. We're paying things for indulgences. We're buying, grandma died and we're not sure if she had done enough. So we're going to pay the priest and he's going to get us a letter from the Pope that says that she's going to be okay and she'll only spend 900 years in purgatory. This is all for sale by this point. There's full currency going on for the church because they lost some of their power base coming from the magnates. They've got to try and find it through the abbots and the bishops. And this is what's going on. So indulgences becomes rife, selling tickets to heaven. And if you are living in Central Europe and you can get hold of one of these, ridiculously expensive, right? And you open it, it's all in Latin. You can't read it. So you can't even check what you're being told. You don't know if there is a verse in here that says heaven's for sale. All you got to do is pay some money. You don't know if it says in here, well, if you touch the Holy Lance with your left pinky and you walk backwards up the steps of Rome or something or other and you say the Lord's Prayer every step and all these sorts of things, you're going to go to heaven. You don't know because you can't check because it's all in a different language. 14:10. Those flippin' Ostelbians, those Slavic people, those people who keep rebelling, they rebel again. And they kick the Teutonic Knights out of Poland, Lithuania. They turf them, they get rid of them. We've had enough of you guys, they rebel. And it's about this region where they do it. They cut them off from further thingy, but this is about where they do it. And of course, if someone goes and sticks their finger up at the authorities, what does the next person do? I'm going to do that too. Students at university, mob crowd, right? So the people of the Czechs of Bohemia, they go, let's do that as well. So they go into an uproar and they rebel as well. So these two do. And of course, how do you get people together? How do you sort things out? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Let's go to war. Under Jan the One-Eyed. What a great name. Guess what? He only had one eye. Yeah, he's actually a truthful one, right? His name is Jan Žižka. Okay, and he actually gets, look at him, he's on his horse. He's the man. He's everything. He is leading the rebellion against Germany. This guy, he puts a cannon on a wagon. He makes the first tank. He puts light artillery on wagons, and no one's seen this before. He is a master of guerrilla warfare, and not the line, but like all over the joint. He's unstoppable. The Czechs rebel. Okay, this rebellion happens under Jan the One-Eyed, but he has cottoned on to somebody else. Because just down the road, one of those Czech guys in Bohemia has been looking at what this Pope has been doing and looking at what the magnates have been doing and looking at how everything is for sale and looking at these indulgences. And he said, this is crap. He didn't use the word crap, but he's like, this is crap. They go under the banner. Jan the One-Eyed draws people to himself to go to war, but he goes under the banner of another name. He goes under the name Jan Hus. And Jan Hus, he's Czech. And this guy, he's a theological scholar. and he says indulgences are wrong. He is the first reformer. At the same time as Jan Hus, there is a philosopher, and his name is John Wycliffe. And between the two of them, they're the first reformers. Okay, we'll deal with them next week. But Jan Hus, his name is John Goose. Yep, but we're going to deal with him next week. But he is 100 years before Luther. He's a century before, and he is a precursor. He's a foreshadow of Luther. What is his call? Scripture alone. We've got to get back to the scriptures, not what the Pope is selling. And the second thing, it's not by money, it's by grace. He's the forebear of the five solas. Jan Hus. Now, as we'll see next week, we can't have that, so they just burn him. They kill him. But he's the first reformer. There he is there, a picture of him. Who knows who did that and who knows when, but that's him. He looks quite nice, doesn't he? Sorry? Oh, no, not Jan Zerxa. No. So Jan Zerxa is under the banner of Jan Hus. Sorry, confused you there. Yeah, so there's two Jans. One's the warrior and one's the theologian. Okay, and he said, I've had enough of this. He's rebelling theologically. And then Jan, the one-eyed, goes, well, let's go to war about this and let's roll. Right? And he's just using a theological argument to go to war, which is, yeah. Who wants a purple cross? I don't know, right? Yeah, another reason to go to war. Yeah, one's one-eyed, one's a goose, yeah. But his big thing, heaven is not for sale. Salvation is not for sale. How can he know this? Well, he's educated, he can read. And this is such a thing that we just don't understand in our culture, that if you can't read the Bible, how do you know these things? Just think about the isolation that would be for people. Yeah, a terrible situation. And they're longing for someone to give them food. These guys are going to start to do that. Okay, any questions, comments? Look at that, we rocketed through that. That was 190 slides.
That statue of the other Jan on the horse, is that modern day Czech?
Sorry?
The statue of the man on the horse
Is...
modern day Czech now?
Yes, it is. I'm pretty sure it's in Czech, yes. Beck has a comment. Yep, Beck, I agree with that. I'll deal with that next week. Your comment, I'll deal with that next week. Agree with you, but at the same time, in scale, what we're talking about. Any other questions or comments?
There was still only one pope, right?
At this point, yeah, we've got rid of the anti-pope again. And then there was another pope. There then is another anti-pope, I'm pretty sure, and he's got lots of numbers after his name. Mm-hmm.
They went to Avignon. I just remember going there and there was a papal palace, but they actually got excommunicated. It's in France somewhere.
There you go. Okay. So was it anti-popes? Is that what you're saying? Anti-pope being... Yeah.
I don't know whether that... They're saying that there were 7 popes down there over that period.
Yeah, so it's crazy, right?
They kicked out of Rome.
Yep, it becomes so confusing. Yeah, because it's like, oh, are you good for me? No. Turf them, get another one. Yeah, it's crazy. It's good. It's like... so disjointed. Actually, you know what it's like? It's like this: the Prime Minister of Australia. We don't like him tomorrow, we'll kick him out and get another one.
So still only one pope at a time?
Yes, yeah, but there's then there's dual popes at one point, and then it's back to one pope. Yeah, it's all a bit, it gets really wonky. Yeah. Some of that I can't explain because it's just, we'll just get bogged down forever and we'll never get to the reformers. We've taken 10 hours to get this far, or 8 hours or whatever it is. But it's probably the best way to look at it. It's just a big dog's breakfast. And there's no stability for people. Do you know what I mean? And then corruption's just coming in because it's all for sale. It's all, your thoughts, my thoughts, his thoughts. And who's got the bigger bank balance? Who's got more gold? Who can sell me more stuff? you get my approval. And I would say, if you actually look into the popes, there would be popes who had a heart for Jesus, absolutely, and probably tried to reform stuff, and they get kicked real fast. There'd be monks who try to do that, absolutely, which is actually part of what Beck's comment was, absolutely. Right? There's these others who try and reform, but it's like coming up against a brick wall, right? Because power corrupts, absolute power, absolutely. And 1,000 years of history has created this dynamic that is really, really hard to break. Oh, we've got a comment. No, we don't. Just Megan wanting a song. Would someone like to write a song for next week? Maybe I could ask. Who's a musician? Hey, actually, we've got 2 musos coming on the tour. Why can't they write a song for the tour? What's wrong with that? Shelley's saying no. Susie B can write it. All right. Susie B, you're on task to write a song about Otto the First, Otto the Second, Otto the Third, Henry I, Henry II, Henry II, Henry I, and Henry the Fowler. Yeah, have it ready for next week, please. Yep, so the comment there for those online was Lizzie said that you look at literacy today, or where people get their information from, and it's not from grounded, solid sources. It's from my opinion, your opinion, their opinion, whatever. And it's literally a tool of Satan to create instability. And absolutely. And we'll see that next week. As we get into next fortnight, we'll see that even more so. Like the humanist movement, the back to the sources, really, really gets rolling. Okay, and this is what Luther is about, back to the sources. His translation of the Bible, he goes back to the original. Right? He's going back to the Greek and the Hebrew, as well as the Latin, but he's going back to go, no, what does it really say? The Pope says this, chuck that in the bin, let's go back to the Bible and let's redo it. And it's actually still a process today. Bible colleges will encourage their students, as you prepare a sermon, to actually read the passage in the Greek or read it in the Hebrew, translate it yourself. Now check that against what is written in an English Bible. Like, are you understanding the role of the passage? Are you understanding its purpose and what it's actually saying? Not just saying, well, the NIV says this. Or, shall I say it, the King James says this, right? But to actually go, no, what's the original say? Now let's see how the translators have worked that out. Now how do I apply that? Quite good to do if you know how to read Greek and Hebrew. If you don't, like me, it's a problem, right? You have to go and click things online and see if you can read it. But then again, you're relying on someone to translate it for you. So, yeah. So any other comments? Becca's asked another question. So she said, this dynamic of 1,000 years that's hard to break, will you go into some of the context as to how Reformation became so possible, not just in power of personality, but time and place? Yes, absolutely. That's next week. That's when we start to really rock it on. Sorry, fortnight. Don't do that. I'll be in Vanuatu. No, Sarah will be on a beach. I will be preparing. Yes. Yes, Beck, we will hit that absolutely, because this is what I've been trying to build up for you guys, is go look. Now it's fertile ground for this explosion to occur in the start of the 15th century. Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, we can get to go home early. Well done. Let me pray for us. Our good God and Father, we thank you again for your love for us. And yeah, as Lizzie just said, Father, it does pain our hearts to see what happened through history where people thought they understood the Lord Jesus and had been led astray. And Father, we ask that you would impress upon us the deep truths of your word and keep us looking into it to know its truths and to see falsehood where falsehood is proclaimed, that we might honour you and glorify you, our King. Amen. travel safe, people, and we'll see you in